this inner critic can dictate our lives of mediocrity because we're not willing to take the risk, or we can't see that actually we're very equipped to deal with disappointment and that failure is actually a very infrequent occurrence. We're always learning forward. And also that it's about the journey along the way. I'm on the edge of glory, and I'm hanging on a moment of truth. I'm on the edge of glory, and I'm hanging on a moment with you. I'm on the edge, the edge, the edge, the edge, the edge, the edge, the edge. I'm on the edge with you. And I hope you take the leap of faith and ignore your inner critic that tells you to step off the edge of your comfort zone. Hello and welcome to the Unlock Lab. I'm your host, Tosca DiMatteo, and I'm so excited that you're here. Today, I'm going to talk to you about one of our inner critics that comes up when we are doing scary things, when we're playing bigger in our lives. And that inner critic is called the edge of the comfort zone inner critic. You know how I am with these things. I'm pretty brick to forehead. So this is a continuation of the inner critic series, really bringing to life some very common inner critics that we experience so that you can become better at identifying it, naming it, and deciding to shift your relationship with it. Before I jump in, let me just slow my roll for a second. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. I'm Tosca DiMatteo, and I founded Tosca Coaching and Consulting. I do work around personal transformation, meeting business breakthroughs. So I do keynote talks, one-on-one coaching, group facilitation for deep conversations. And if you're looking for transformation where you're sitting, please learn more at coachtosca.com. That's Coach, TOSCA.com. All right. So here we are, early September. Welcome. Yeah, I'm still in lingering summer vibes. I hope you caught last week's episode. It was about the maximizer and how it can be really easy for us to be hard on ourselves when we look back and wish we got more done, whether that's looking back at the summer or looking back at the day. Yeah, the maximizer inner critic is real for sure in my life. It's ongoing. And another one that's ongoing and can get really kind of sneaky is this inner critic, the one that I'm calling the edge of your comfort zone inner critic, can come in blazing. And this happens with my clients a lot. And I got to tell you that when we have a conversation and they're telling me, yeah, I was moving forward on this thing, and then all this self-doubt came in, I'm like, yes, honey, you are right on track. Fear not. So let me give you a quick example of this. I have a client who's transitioning from one career to another, and she's being very strategic and very deliberate about it. It's beautiful. And she started working on creating a timeline for when she's going to officially launch her business. And she started getting all this self-doubt. Now, mind you, she had already built a business and has been running it for 20 some years. And so, of course, she can start a business. She's done this in the past. It's quite successful. There's many employees and on and on. So what happens is this inner critic comes to the forefront because if you've listened to anything else I've done on inner critic work, then you know that what our inner critics are there to do is to protect us. They're there to protect us from things like disappointment, from failure, from not getting what we need to survive. And as we move on in our lives, they often haven't got the memo that we don't need them anymore. And so this is the case, right? When here she is, well experienced and looking to build something new. And her inner critic is trying to keep her safe from some of these things, from disappointment, from failure, all the things. And that's because it doesn't know all the experience that she has. The inner critic doesn't care about her dreams. They're just worried about keeping her safe. So think about it. If there's been a time where you've decided, I'm finally going to hold this boundary with this person, and it's really hard and you feel guilty, that inner critic, the one that shows up at the edge of your comfort zone, could probably show up in that situation and tell you don't do it for fear of rejection or for fear of that relationship going completely haywire, right? Because it's the end of your comfort zone, holding a boundary, for example, in this situation. It can be really helpful to identify this inner critic to remind you, oh, right, I actually don't need this safety department right now. Oh, right. Actually, the way I'm living my life right now is I'm willing to take risks, that I want to push my comfort zone, that I want to do things differently, that I want to go after my biggest, boldest dreams. And you have to combat the inner critic narrative by remembering what your truth is. And in this case, of this example I've been sharing with a client of mine, I had to remind her, remember what you've done. Remember where you've been. This isn't your first rodeo. And that's part of the process. So you can ask yourself questions like, is this something that I'm attempting to do, pushing the comfort zone in some way? Whether it's pushing the comfort zone of where I think my skill set is, or it's pushing the comfort zone of the risk I'm willing to take, or it's pushing the comfort zone related to resources and finances, all those things, then the good news is you are right on track. The good news is that if your inner critic is coming up, it is not a sign to back away. It is not a sign that this is not the path for you. What it is it's a sign that you are breaking patterns so that you can find the next level of your life and of your ambitions. It's exciting. So I'm inviting the reframe on that, right? I'm going to share another example that, oh my God, it just was beautiful and heartwarming this summer that I want to pass along to you because, gosh, it just has so many lessons in there, lessons for life, lessons for leadership. So I had a wonderful opportunity to have one of my nieces visit me for several days. And we were sitting on the couch and having a conversation. It was us and a few other folks. And she started talking about how she wanted to get her hair braided, but was really nervous and worried about judgment from other people and all this stuff. And this is also tied up in our racist society and judgment on what people choose to do with their own bodies. So let me just put that out there. She was clearly very excited about this possibility and this interest in getting her hair braided. In fact, she knew the style that she wanted to get, right? It was that potent. She had done that amount of research into this thing that she really wanted for herself. But she asked everybody sitting on the couch, should I? Should I get my hair braided? And in a way, right, this is the edge of her comfort zone. This is her discovering who she is and how she wants to self express. This is her deciding, am I going to pay attention to judgment I might receive? Or am I going to do this thing anyway? And who cares what anybody has to say? And it's funny because a much younger niece of mine was there and said, what? Of course you should get your hair done the way you want it. She then went on to explain how she got braces and she got rainbow colors, and kids at school were calling her gay. And she was like, I don't care. I got what I wanted. I don't care what they have to say. So, to make a beautiful long story kind of short, my niece decided to get her hair braided. And she was so incredibly happy about it. So she made the choice to honor herself and her desires. And yeah, it was uncomfortable. She was worried about how people were going to react and respond to her. But she also knew that she was going to college in just a couple of weeks and wanted to show up in the way that made her feel good and powerful. And so she chose to take action on that desire. And she was able to do that with a little bit of support and a little bit of cheerleading for the people that saw in that moment, gosh, this seems to be what you really want. And do you want to follow through with what you want, or do you want to worry about what other people had to say? And a funny side note is that, like, it was like the next day I noticed on her cell phone that she had some quote in there that was about not giving a crap about what other people thought. And I was like, well, there you have it. Your values are literally on the back of your cell phone. And you had the courage to go forth and make the decision that was right at the outside of your comfort zone. I'm so proud of her. And it was so beautiful. And you know what? She made a lot of phone calls after she got her hair done to show people and to get that support. Part of it, right at that age, is validation. Part of it was excitement. And part of it, I think, was, will I still belong with the groups and the friends that I have, even if I've made a change to how I look? And, you know, I'm just proud of her. And I share this because we're talking about something like braces and hair, right? And imagine applying this to other things, to leadership concepts like, do I stand up and speak truth to power? Do I quit my job and do the thing that I've loved and wanted to do for like the past 15 years? And that's when the stakes get even higher, right? When we continue to be run by the inner critic that comes in when we're at the edge of the comfort zone, that we may never take those risks. We may never do those awesome things, and the comfort zone inner critic can trigger other inner critics, like scarcity inner critics and all kinds of other things. It can be the impetus because then they're like having a whole party giving more reasons why you shouldn't go do that scary thing. And I'll give you one more example because I think examples are helpful to see yourself in this and hopefully make some choices that make you feel really good and courageous. As I've mentioned in different kinds of conversations with you, our inner critics can get really sneaky. And that is certainly the case in this story I'm going to share about myself, because our inner critics will find some really, really sneaky ways of getting in to get us to make the safe, quote unquote, choice in our life. And this happened in relation to a goal that I had set for myself many years ago, a dream that I had set for myself. In fact, I had put it on many vision boards in my life, and that is to do a TED talk. I had this vision and I've kind of circumvented it by doing other things in my life, right? I've launched a podcast and I actually gave a keynote talk and had it recorded and put it out there to say, yeah, I gave a talk. It was recorded. Who needs a TED talk, right? You can watch my talk right here on my website. And recently, I had a good friend of mine suggest that I go do a TED talk. It would be amazing. Like, I'm a great speaker and it would be great for my business. And, like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense for you. Long story short, I got really excited again. And I was like, yeah, TED talk, sure. And then she even reached out to her connections to see how she could help me. And that made me feel great because I was supported. But then when that fell through, then my sneaky inner critic came in and it was trying to keep me safe from disappointment. And it was telling me that, well, if it's that hard And if it's going to be this much of a slog, then maybe this isn't the direction that you should go. And so much of this was kind of happening really under the surface. It was really like, it's not even necessarily things that I was saying to myself, but when I looked back and reflected on why did I let that go, these were kind of these embedded things that were going on for myself. And as the universe does work, I got more messages around, hey, like this YouTube dream, it's not something to sunset. It's not something to put down. And so I've made the decision, happy to say, and I'm putting it out there, right? That I am putting this goal and this dream back on the table. And yeah, there are things that I struggle with about it. Yeah, there are times where I feel like, oh my God, this is going to be so much work. But I also know that's just limiting belief and inner critic coming in to try to get me to not go after and do this thing because the edge of my comfort zone is putting myself in a situation where I can be rejected or where I can feel like I don't have a good enough story to tell or something that is worthy of putting on such a stage because it's not differentiated enough and on, right? So my my inner critic that shows up at the edge of my comfort zone is really shady and sneaky, and I have to pay real close attention to it. And thank goodness for my friends that I'm surrounded by that help me see what's going on and that help advocate and cheerlead for me to go do the thing that they feel like I'm worthy of doing. So I'm just going to take a pause there because I shared a lot of stories around what it could look like when the end of our comfort zone inner critic comes in. Sometimes we fear judgment, we fear rejection, we fear failure. And these are really strong fears. We fear financial ruin and so many other things that, if we're not careful, can dictate a choice that keeps us small. This inner critic can dictate our lives of mediocrity because we're not willing to take the risk or we can't see that actually we're very equipped to deal with disappointment and that failure is actually a very infrequent occurrence. We're always learning forward. And also that it's about the journey along the way. I may go after a TED Talk and maybe I never land the thing, but maybe what happens is a 10-degree move in a different direction that's even better than a TED Talk opportunity. I have no idea. Maybe I end up on the South by Southwest stage. Maybe I end up meeting my next best friend. Like maybe I end up meeting a business partner. I don't know. But the point is, what serves us is following our biggest dreams. What serves us is following the thing that gets our heart beating fast. What serves us is honoring the thing that gets us excited just in this one moment. And the thing that kind of sealed the deal for me when I realized that an inner critic was running the show, or I should probably say several of them kind of got involved on this one, was when I had said to my friend, well, if somebody offered me the opportunity to go talk on TED stage, that would be a hell yeah for me. And that's when she pointed out, well, if that's a hell yeah, then you're getting in your own way, honey. And wasn't that the truth? Wasn't that the truth? So I hope that you don't get in your own way. We are coming in on the final months of 2024. Look, we got a long runway. We got a long runway. But what that means is we can still put out our big dreams. We can declare new chapters for our bravery and for what we're going after. And I'm inviting you to do that. I'm so glad that you were here for this episode. And please, if you found this supportive, like, rate, review on whatever platform you're listening on. Forward this along to somebody that you hope steps out of that comfort zone to see what else is possible on the other side. And if you have any questions or something popped up for you you want to share with me, please feel free to reach out. You can find me in the show notes. You can find out how to get in touch with me. I'm easy to find. And I look forward to hearing from you and hearing your stories and cheering you on to be your own best friend and to shift the relationship that you have with that inner critic that rears its head when you are getting to the edge of the comfort zone. And remember this, if nothing else, if that's what happens, if your inner critic shows up to tell you you better slow your roll, just remember this, you are on the right track. All right. Love you. Thanks for showing up here. And I look forward to seeing you next time on the Unlock Lab. Ciao for now.